All right, everyone, thank you for joining the Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm Teddy Atlas III. I'm joined by International Boxing Hall of Famer, live stream extraordinaire, my main man and father, Teddy Atlas. How you doing, bud?
Good. I feel better now after you pumped me up, and I just hope I don't let everyone down now. You pumped me up so high, it's hard to stay at those levels, but I appreciate it. First I want to do is I want to congratulate Florida. They won last week the National Collegiate Championship. They beat Houston in a tremendous game. I mean, there was so many good games in that tournament. I thought it would be ruined. Maybe it is ruined with the NIL money, but the tournament's still great. You still get great games. The only difference now, you had all number ones, but you don't have as many of the smaller schools upsetting somebody you always used to have a chance of. But you never know. It might go where to even out a little bit, where they get some of the money too. But it was a great tournament. It was a great game. Florida, they did what they did throughout the tournament. Even though they were the number one seed and they were one of the favorites going in, they came from behind throughout the tournament to win. So they showed what Houston showed the week before or a few days before when they beat Duke in that tremendous comeback game. They showed not only skill but will. And that's what Florida showed. They came from behind in this game against Houston, who's a tremendous defensive team, tremendous physical team, tremendous three-point shooting team. But Florida had all the pieces. And like I said, they merged skill with will. And they came from behind again. They won the game. It was a great game. Their main guy, their guard, was having an off game all night. I mean, really off. I don't know if he scored.
No points at halftime.
Yeah, he didn't score the first half. He was having a terrible game. But then when crunch time came, he stepped up like the great ones do. He stepped up when he had to, and it was heartbreaking for Houston, obviously, but terrific win for Florida. I did pick them, by the way. I did pick them. So for those that get on me about my boxing picks, stick with me with the basketball. I'll make it up to you. I'll make you happy, all right? Anyway, I want to say happy Palm Sunday. This is Palm Sunday to all listeners and fans out there, audience out there that are Catholic and practice that holiday. Next week will be Easter. I want to wish ahead of time everybody to have a happy Easter, and I want to wish all the fans that observe Passover, I want to say happy Passover to them. I think I covered all the holidays right now. And before we get into the fights on the weekend, yeah, what you opened up with, bud, we promise made, promise kept. You told everybody we would start doing live streaming. We're doing live streaming. It's up to the fans now. Like that movie, Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. Yeah, you build it, they will come. You told me, you said, bud, let's build it. They're going to come. Well, now it's up to the fans to come. They came last night. They came a few weeks ago. They came out a few of the times that we've done it. They've been coming. You got to keep coming. If you come, we'll keep doing it. If you don't come, it'll go back to the fields in Iowa, right? We'll go back to putting corn up. We'll put corn up and we'll sell corn. I like corn. I love sweet corn when it's hot and you put butter on. Oh, forget about it. It's really nice. It's a nice meal. So it's up to the fans, up to you guys. Do you like me being back in the commentary seat? Then come out and show my son that you do, and we can keep doing the live stream, and we got more to come. And the other thing before we get started, we started doing a list, my son's idea. We started doing a list of the greatest. So we started with the greatest heavyweights of all time. I think you guys really did enjoy that list. It gives you a chance to argue with me a little bit, and sometimes agree with me. I like that. I like that, but probably more argue with me. But that's okay. It's all good. It creates conversation. That's a good thing. That's an enjoyable thing, as long as it's as long as it's respectful. And then we put out. After that, we put out a list of greatest fighters of all time. Tough list. I mean, you're talking about a sport around 2,000 years. You're going to get the greatest of all time. That's tough. That's a really tough list. But I thought I did as good a job as I could, an honest job. I gave it a lot of thought. I mentioned the guys that didn't get on the list, that belong on the list, but I could only come up with 10. Of course, it's subjective. But again, you guys seem to enjoy it. As long as you guys enjoy these lists and you let my son know, out there on the social media and all that stuff that I don't visit too often, probably about as often as as often as maybe I go to Iowa. That's not that often. You guys let us know that you enjoyed it. We'll keep doing it. We're gonna have lists coming up this week and next week, and I'll tell you ahead of time what they're gonna be, just so it's in your mind. We're gonna put up a list this week we thought it would be nice to commemorate it, to just combine it with the holiday of Passover for our Jewish fans out there. So we're going to put a list of the greatest Jewish fighters of all time. That's a heck of a list. There was a lot of great Jewish fighters. Yeah, there was a lot of great Italian fighters, a lot of great Irish fighters, a lot of great Spanish fighters, Latino fighters, a lot of great African-American fighters, a lot of great every fighters. But there were different eras where different ethnic groups dominated, but that they were really, really dominant and strong in this great sport. So there was a time when the Jewish war. And again, we figured that we would hook it together with just celebrating Passover for the Jewish audience out there with the greatest Jewish fighters. So that'll come up this week. And then next week, we're going to put up, the greatest fans. I always say it, the greatest fans in the business. Because you guys have the longest connection with this sport. There's nobody close to the English British fans with boxing. You guys go back longer than anybody with this sport, back to Marcus of Queensberry and beyond. So we figured my son came up with the idea. He said, Dad, do your greatest British fighters. That's going to be a tough one too. Do your greatest British fighters of all time, your greatest fighters from England, from Great Britain, the UK, of all time, and let's time that with the big fight coming out of the UK next week, which will be Eubank and Ben, just like their dads. They're gonna follow up, and pick it up where their dads left it off, and that's gonna be a huge fight, bad blood, the whole thing, over in the UK. So again, next week, look forward to the greatest British fighters from the UK, whichever way you want to put it, of all time, to coincide with that fight from Great Britain, from England. So let's get started with what is happening and did happen last night.
Yeah, just real quick, want to piggyback off of that with the list. Last week we did do the anniversary fight, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler. We're going to do the anniversary coming up on Tuesday. Will be 40 years for Hagler and Hearns. Some say maybe the best 9 minutes in boxing. So just want to let everybody know, be on the lookout for that. And talking about the live stream, we did 3 in February. We did 1 in March. We did 1 in April. We'll be back April 26th for that Eubank and Ben fight. And the live stream from last night, it's up on the YouTube channel. It's still there. So if you want to go back, see Teddy's comments, please go on and check it out. So with that being said, we'll get right into the action. We're going to start off with the boxing, live from Atlantic City. Nice return for boxing at the Boardwalk Hall. This was the first fight, talking about the live stream that we commentated on. We had Ray Ford versus Thomas Mattice. Ray Ford, former 126-pound featherweight champion. He lost his belt to Nick Ball in Saudi Arabia, and he moved up to 130 pounds. This was his second fight now at 130-pound division. He fought Thomas Mattice, a veteran, Rugged, tough game guy who in 2020 went the distance with Isaac Pitbull Cruz. He's been around the block. He was game. He tried. Wasn't the most action, wasn't the most fan-friendly, but the southpaw, Ray Ford, pitched a shutout. This is a guy you've been really high on for quite some time. Very impressive performance. Too quick, too good. What'd you think of Ray Ford and his performance overall?
I think he's just what I thought he was. You know, kind of like that commercial that Herman Edwards used to do, those great commercials in the NFL. What great commercials. They were so funny. Oh, my God. They were really good commercials. Remember Herman Edwards? They were who we thought they were. What? They were who we thought they were. Ray Ford, for me, is who I thought he was. He's a well-rounded top fighter, one of the best fighters in the business, in the boxing business. I thought that he lost. I thought he could have won, and I thought he did win on my card, the fight in Saudi Arabia. But I love Nick Ball, so I didn't have a problem because it was a close fight. It was maybe Nick Ball out-hustled him a little bit, outworked him in some rounds because Ford is a guy that doesn't waste much. He places everything. He's a bit of a scientist. He'll fight with you. He'll get down and dirty when he has to, but he is a consummate boxer. He's a well-rounded, solid guy that practices the sweet science. So maybe he got outworked in some rounds there with the Nick Ball. Again, I thought that he had, as the English would say over there across the pond, I thought Ford nicked it. But either way, it was a great fight. Nick Ball got the title. He's got the title. He's terrific, too. Ray Ford moved up, like my son said. He's now his second fight at 130 pounds. I see him becoming a world champion at this weight class. Just he put on a boxing 101, clinic. He did a little of everything. He boxes on the outside, he goes inside, he goes to the head and the body. His punches are accurate, they're well placed. He's defensively responsible. He can counter punch, he can set traps. He do everything. He does it all, and he's a southpaw on top of it, which gives more problems. Look, for the people out there, they were making comments, and they were smart people out there watching the fight with us. I like that. And they were saying, Teddy, what about when he dives in? When he comes in, skydiving a little bit, leaping in a little bit. He's not leaping in like some guys. I get what you mean, but I got to differentiate here. I got to clear that up. I got to explain really what he does. Yeah, he launches himself in spots. He did against Mattice in some spots, but he only did it when he read the room. He read the roadmap. He didn't just drive down the road without understanding what was down the road. He saw that Mattice was pulling out, not set to punch. So he launched himself knowing he couldn't get caught, knowing Mattice couldn't make him pay a price. And even with that, he didn't get out of sorts. He did it under control. He did it purposefully. He didn't get way out in front of his skis or over his skis, as people like to say. He had his legs under him. So, yeah, he launched himself. Yeah, it looked like he got a little reckless, a little careless, a little over-aggressive. But he did it purposefully. He did it knowing he was opportunistic. He knew that he had an opportunity with Mattice pulling out. He saw that, and he knew he could do it without paying a price. That's a smart fighter that reads the tea leaves and sees and makes an adjustment. It takes advantage of something on the spot. That's a really smart fighter. And again, Mattice, as you mentioned, he had a loss back in 2000 to Pit Cruz. It was a majority decision, close fight.
2020.
Yeah, back in 2020. I'm sorry. And he's 22-4. Well, now he's 22-5-1. Mattice. Mattice had the size advantage, taller, longer, but he didn't use it. He fought a game fight, Mattice. And this is not a knock on him. This is just Teddy Atlas telling you what my job has been for 50 years, to break down what I think is in front of me. It doesn't mean I'm right, but what my experience tells me. He fought a game fight, but not a smart fight. He didn't come there knowing really what he needed to know or execute, which was to use his length, to use his jab, to keep separation, to make it harder for Ford to get in, to maybe actually make Ford jump in when he was ready to punch, not when he was bailing out, not when he was going out the back door. So he just didn't look like he had a game plan or a sufficient game plan to use his physical assets. And he's got physical assets. I said it. He's tall, he's long. He didn't have a game plan to use those abilities. And he allowed Ford to dictate the fight. At the end of the day, I don't want to stay on it longer than I have to. I think I covered it good enough. Ford is a complete package. I liked him going in. I liked him before everybody knew about him because I recognized how complete a package he is, and I still like him. Again, I thought Mattice should have used the jab more. He didn't. I thought that he should have tried to fight tall. He didn't fight tall. He just fought game for the most part. And by putting that pressure on, that might work against certain guys. But against Ford, Ford's too experienced for that. He had a good amateur background. He's a former world champion. He comes from Camden, New Jersey, where Dwight Quarwee, the light heavyweight and cruiserweight champ, came from. He comes from a place that's a tough place, a place that has bred other fighters. He wasn't getting broken down by pressure. He was just going to deal with it. You were going to come and give him something by giving up your range, by giving up your height. He was going to take your body. He was going to go to your body. He was going to go to your head. He was going to put combinations together. Then he was going to go out the side door on you. So at the end of the day, really a nice exhibition of the sweet science by a fighter that I like a lot.
Yeah, you've been talking about him for quite some time. I was impressed. Mattice, never been stopped before, didn't make it the distance. And if there was one thing that Ford maybe is missing, it is some power or one-punch pop. But nonetheless, impressive performance. I did want to say Herman Edwards has had some great sound bites. That was actually Denny Green, the old Vikings and Arizona Cardinals coach, who said...
And Minnesota Vikings. And Minnesota
Yeah.
Vikings. Denny Green.
Yeah, I think I just said that.
Oh,
but yeah, Vikings and Cardinals. Yeah. If you want to crown them, go ahead and crown them.
Yeah,
So-
you're right. It was Denny Green. You're right. I love him too. I wasn't Herman Edwards. Herman Edwards, what was Herman Edwards' commercial?
He had a lot. He was on that bus. You got to be on the bus.
Got to be on the bus. You got to be on the bus. If you're not on the bus, you're not going to be there. You got to be on the bus. Yeah, Herman Edwards, he had some great ones. So what were those? Miller High Life? What were they? There was some...
Yeah, they were, yeah. I think you might be right. It was a beer commercial.
It was a beer commercial.
Maybe Bud Light.
Bud Light, maybe. But, yeah, they were good. They were really... And, of course, maybe the creme de la creme might have been Mora. Right? The coach Mora for
Playoffs.
For the New Orleans Saints. I think he was... Playoffs? Playoffs! Talking about playoffs? I mean, those were. I'm glad you corrected me. I'm glad you. See, that's one of the reasons I love you. That I could depend on you. I make a mistake, you clean it up. You're there to make sure that before we leave the air, that mistake was fixed. Thank you.
Yeah, and talking about being on the bus, a lot of fans took the bus, I'm sure, from Philadelphia, PA, down Atlantic City to watch their fan favorite, Jarron Ennis, fought versus Eimantas Stanionis. This was a WBA and IBF welterweight unification championship match. Ennis, a lot of people were down on after his last performance, and he bounced back in this one. Stanionis, the first ever Lithuanian champion, tough game kid, but he was just outgunned from the start. We did a preview before this fight, and I was surprised. A lot of people in the comments section were saying they thought Stanionis was going to win and that you had this one wrong. You nailed it. Your preview was spot on. And then fast forward to right before the fight, you put up a clip and you said, this one is simple. He's got to go through a bad neighborhood, and Ennis is going to mug him on the way in. And that's exactly what happened. During the fight, talking about the live stream, early on, you recognized it and recognized it quickly. You called for a stoppage. You said if anybody out there want to put a little wager on a live betting and do it responsibly, you would go for the 4th or 5th round stoppage. You just missed it. Boots, I thought really impressive. Controlled range on the outside, looked really sharp, locked in, was looking for counters, trying to mug him, as you said, catch him on the way in. And he gets the stoppage. The corner stopped it in the 6th round. What'd you think of Boots Ennis' performance?
One word. Necessary. Necessary. On time. He needed that. If he's going to be the guy that we've been waiting for him to be, that guy, that big giant welterweight that's cleaning out the welterweights that we thought was going to be the showdown maybe with him and Crawford, hasn't materialized. But Crawford went on to the bigger fights, to the, to that stardom. Ennis was, we could say he's at stardom. Okay, that's fair. But he hasn't gotten a dance partner to go officially to that place that we can really, just put the italics next to it and say, okay, superstar. I think we want to. We want to do that because he's got all the bearings of that. He suggests that in every way. His size, his ability, his technique, how well-rounded he is. Everything. I mean, he can fight inside, outside. He can use the ring. He can switch righty and lefty like Crawford. Not too many guys can do that and not miss a beat. He does that, and he's effective on either side of the plate, like Mickey Mantle, the great switch hitter. He can hit lefty or righty. Tremendous. He's got length. He's got, like I said, size. He's so dimensional, and yet he didn't quite get to the place Crawford did. Again, you got to have the dance partner, but he didn't quite satisfy us. Like we were waiting for him to be all that. Like he's right there. He's ready to be crowned, anointed as that guy. And then he would have a couple fights where he went the distance and people, instead of celebrating that, hey, he won, he stayed undefeated, and he fought good fighters, even though they didn't have the big name. They were good, difficult fighters. They were difficult stuff, but it took some luster off of everything that we wanted it to be nothing but shiny. We wanted it to be nothing but glowing, nothing but greatness. And he didn't quite let us say that. He did what had to be done at this stage of his life, of his career, with this particular undefeated, untested, at that level, fighter. He did just what he had to do. He got him out of there. And he did it beautifully. He did it methodically. He did it showing everything. All of his great abilities on the outside, on the inside, everything, everything. Now, he got hit. He does get hit. He does get hit clean sometimes. That could be a problem at the next level. Is it because he knows he could afford to be hit with a Stanionis? I know that's a lot of people going to say, Teddy, did you just say that? That's a little irresponsible. Teddy, you said that? That he knew he could afford. What I'm saying is, it's a mental game, not just a physical, technical game. He knows he's the big favorite. He knows that he was the better guy here. And in his mind, maybe he did get a little more reckless or chancy, with certain things than he would with a Crawford, because he knows he can't afford to do that. Maybe that's part of it. We're human. Maybe that's part. That can't be part of it when he goes to that next level. That guy, when he finally gets that guy. Whether it's Crawford, whoever it is, whether it's Crawford, whether it's Virgil Ortiz, whatever. He can't afford to do that. I think that part of him getting hit, I like. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I don't want guys to get hit. Top guys, they can't get hit clean the way he got hit the other night. He got hit a few punches clean with a guy that obviously he showed a good chin, but a guy that he could afford maybe to get hit with, but there's guys out there you can't afford to get hit with that kind of punch. It won't be the same result. But having said that, what do I mean by I like it? I like the fact that he's willing to go, into the kitchen. He's willing to go, right there and take risk, take chances, satisfy us, but satisfy himself that he believes in himself, that he can go there, that he can take the risk, that he can come out on top, even though he goes after a guy maybe to purposely get a knockout. I like that attitude. I like that belief. I don't like that he gets hit. You're going to have to clean that up. Him and his father, they do a good job. He's going to have to clean that up. I think part of the reason he does it is everything I just said, that he will take the risk. He's willing to take the risk, but also he doesn't gauge range sometimes, where he'll throw a punch. He's got great length, unbelievable. But he'll throw a jab or whatever punch it is, but in this case, it would probably be a lead jab, whether lefty or righty, usually orthodox. He'll throw a punch from a little too close, where he allows his opponent to get the geography, the space, the range to time him. And he'll get caught because he threw from a little too close. That's got to be cleaned up. That he's got to be aware of, where he doesn't get caught those clean shots. I don't care you get caught here and there, but you don't want to get caught those clean shots. The other reason is sometimes I think his stay in a slot to throw, and his stay there maybe, again, from a range a little too close, but also stay there just a tick too long. Instead of throwing one, he might throw two. And he'll get timed in the middle between the first and second punch, where he should have just thrown one. Where he's got to get a better sense of, do I have time for one or two or none? Should I fade him, make him miss because he's looking to time me? And then I throw my punches safely. So those are subtle things. Those are things that we're talking about, the science. Those are things that are important when you take yourself to that next level. Now, I will say he's got good eyes. He places shots nice and accurate. He sees the uppercut. He sees what he has to see, and he places it really nice. He also has good eyes to see the punch coming. I like the way he rides with punch. He rode with a couple left hooks. Roberto Duran, one of my favorite fighters of all time, he used to be great, bud. Great. I mean, he slipped shots too, don't get me wrong. But he would ride the right hand. You throw the right hand, he'd ride with it and take a lot of the power off of the punch. You can see Ennis was trying to do that. He didn't do it quite as good as Duran does it. He didn't do it quite as good as Duran. But you saw that was his thinking. That was what he was trying to do. He'd be better off for keeping the glove up and probably dipping inside it or weaving it. He'd probably be a little bit better off at that in those kind of situations. At the end of the day, I said going in that he's too talented. This is what the fans say. And you guys are right. There's levels to this. That was on display as clearly as ever. There's levels to this. He was at a different level than Stanionis, period. Talent-wise, technical-wise, everything, the whole package. Mentally, confidence, everything. But I felt that there were three areas that he would zero in on. Because while Ennis is more talented, he's also more dimensional. Stanionis is one-dimensional. So he doesn't have as much talent. He's got a lot of heart. But whatever he does have, he's only going to come at you one way. And when you know a guy's coming at you only one way, you're prepared for that. And you could see that. You could see that Ennis was prepared for that one-way ticket that Stanionis was going to try to use to get victory. And that was to come in the front door, be aggressive. And if you got a guy doing that, there's three areas you're going to concentrate on. And I was impressed that Ennis stayed on those areas. One, you're going to look to catch him an uppercut. Because he's coming, he's shorter than you, he leans a little bit. That punch is going to work. And it did. At the end, he stayed with it 3 in a row, and he got rid of him. And the other is body. Stanionis covers up well. He comes at you. He puts the earmuffs on. He gives you shots to the body. When he covers up, he's a little bit, he's stationary. He's a heavy bag for that moment. You can go and you can play shots. He's going to give you some to the body. I thought that Ennis did a beautiful job, a Mickey Ward type job in the last round where he touched him up top and then threw a left hook down underneath to the liver. Beautiful. Really nice. And then the other punch that I didn't see delivered as much was just to split the guard down the middle, where you blind them kind of like George Foreman did. You blind them with the jab and the right hand's right behind it. Or if you turn southpaw, you blind them with the right jab and the straight left is behind it. The point is, he's right there. You blind him with one, boom, you put the right hand right behind. He was doing 1-2s, but he never did it where he put the right hand right behind it, where he never would have saw the right hand behind the jab. I thought that was, but listen, he did a magnificent job. He really did put on a clinic. He put a clinic. He said, "You want to see some inside here? You want to see some outside here? You want to see some counter punching here? You want to see some traps here? Really, you want to see some lefty here? You want to see some righty here?" Really, he did a beautiful job. I thought Stanionis did not help himself with the aggression minus the jab. Would the trainers out there start, when you got a short guy, would you please do your fighters a real service and teach them the jab? Don't throw away. Don't abandon the jab just because the other guy is taller. If Mike Tyson did that, he never would have won a fight because he was shorter than everyone. But he still out-jabbed taller guys. He used his jab to set up his power, to take away a lot of the other guy's ability to box on the outside. He stabilized them on the outside. When Stanionis used the jab in spots, you could see he was markedly better. But again, it frustrates me in this business where you'll see guys that they have a shorter guy, they figure no sense in dealing with the jab. We just got to look for power shots. No, it's even more important now that you're shorter, that you use the jab. So you don't get relegated to a place where you're desperate, only looking for power shots. It's more important. It's more important that the short guy use the jab than the tall guy. Because the tall guy's got range. If he don't use the jab, he's still got a shot to time you on the way in where he has an edge that he can hit you before you can hit him. Anyway, I want to give that kind of a thorough breakdown. I thought it deserved it. Ennis did what he had to do. Ennis did what we wanted him to do, what his people needed him to do, what his promoter, I'm sure Eddie Hearns, was very happy that he did, was to show that, yeah, I am the guy you want me to be. You want me to be this guy, the next, that guy? Okay, I'll give you the performance that allows you to leave the arena that night saying, yeah, he's still that guy.
Yep, and that's exactly what he did. Perfectly said by you. Boots did put on a clinic, and you put on a clinic too, before and after the fight. You did a great job. Everybody should go back and watch that live stream. You're talking about the punches that were placed, some vicious body shots, the eyes, the rolling of some of the punches. It makes me think when you talk about riding the rails. Everybody should go check Dynamic Striking and watch some of your tutorials. I think it matches up perfectly to some of the examples you just touched on. So congratulations to Boots Ennis. We'll see what's next. 147 pounds. There's 2 more belts out there. Brian Norman, 24 years old, just had his coming out party a couple weeks ago.
That's an interesting fight. But that's a fight that I don't have to tell Eddie Hearns. I don't have to tell Eddie. Eddie's one of the smartest guys in the business.
We're not going to see that one.
We ain't seeing that. That don't make me Nostradamus. That don't make me the Amazing Kreskin, like I used to say on Friday Night Fights. Because that guy you just mentioned, he looks like he's that good. But I'm not saying he's better than Ennis, but I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to fight a guy that good when that guy hasn't done what Ennis has done. Get himself to a place out there where it can demand money. He hasn't done that.
The roles have reversed.
He
It sounds
100%.
just like Terrence Crawford probably felt when people were saying, hey, you got to fight Boots next.
Yeah.
And now maybe Boots is saying the same, like you just said, in regards to Brian Norman.
Yeah, 100%. Why would you fight him? Let him do what he's got to do to become that guy where the risk is worth the reward. It's not worth the reward. The money ain't there for that fight. People don't know about Norman. I know him. I know he's a hell of a looking prospect. But it makes the business part of it does not match up. It doesn't make sense. And he's too smart for that. Yeah, let him do, like we just said, let him do what Crawford did. Let him do what Ennis did. Let him do that. Let him get himself to that place, promoted to that place, highlighted to that place, demanded to that place by the public. And then when the money's there, we can talk about it. But right now, please, don't even mention his name, especially around the holidays. You upset a good dinner.
That's exactly what his father and trainer, Bozianis, said. He said, I don't even want to talk about him. And it makes sense. You just said it perfectly. There's Mario Barrios, also has the other belt at 147 pounds if he stays there. Or maybe he moves up to 154. Verge Ortiz, many names. So time will tell. But that was a great, thorough breakdown for the boxing this week. Before we move on to the UFC fights, I just want to take a quick pause, give a thank you to today's sponsor, Athletic Greens, the all-in-one daily drink to support better health and peak performance. These guys spent 10 years with top nutritionists and doctors to create this formula. It's made from 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It has vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, and antioxidants. This is like an insurance policy for your body's health and immunity. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/atlas to claim the special offer of 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. All right, so we will move on and transition over to the UFC. UFC 314 from Miami. As soon as we finished our boxing coverage of the live stream, we stayed on. We switched over to the UFC. And right in time, the first fight we called was the one we'll talk about right now. Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. Now, this was Pitbull's first fight in the UFC. And this was a big bounce-back fight with a lot of pressure on him for Yair Rodriguez. He had lost 2 in a row coming into this one. I thought that the moment wasn't too big for Pitbull. He's 37 years old. The lights weren't too bright. He was there at 5'6" against a 5'11" opponent, trying to come forward, trying to pressure. But I thought Yair Rodriguez was a stylistic matchup for him. Nightmare matchup. Just the length, the size, the striking, the kicks, the punches, the spinning. He had his way in the third round. Caught him with a big shot. He ground and pounded him, busted him up pretty good. In the end, Patricio gets the loss in his UFC debut, but goes the distance. Yair Rodriguez back in the win column and maybe back in title contention. What'd you think of this one?
I thought, when you move into a neighborhood, when you come into, my buddy here, he's smiling. When you move into a new neighborhood, what happens? Sometimes if you got nice neighbors, they come out and they bring you a nice little welcome to the neighborhood gift. Rich, they do. They come out, they say, hey, welcome, here's a little gift, here's a nice pie my wife made, here, here's a little bread pudding, rice pudding that she made, we're glad to have you. There ain't no welcome to the neighborhood gifts given out when you go to the UFC. Dana White doesn't do that. No. No. When you coming from the different place that just like Chandler came from, when you come from another place, another neighborhood, and you step up into the UFC, nah. Now, he's the Grinch. Now, you think you're going to get something special in your stocking? Yeah, you're not even going to get coal. You're going to get a tough fight because that's their mantra. That's their brand, and they stand by it, and that's why they are what they are, the UFC, and why people watch it. Because you're going to get competitive fights. You're going to get the best against the best. There are no gifts. There are no welcoming to the neighborhood hospitality when it comes to the UFC. And Pitbull didn't get any of that. He got a guy that really understood. The thing that impressed me about Rodriguez a lot, but the most important thing that impressed me about Rodriguez, he knows who he is. He knows his gifts. He knows his size. He knows his athleticism. He knows his physical assets. And he uses them appropriately with space. He had a shorter guy, an aggressive guy. They were all tough guys that had to get called. He knew. I always talk about geography. I always talk about the geography of the ring. I talk about geometry too. I like this, I like that too with the angles and stuff. But I always talk about whoever gets to the geography, the space, the place where they can best use their tools, their abilities, will usually win the fight. Rodriguez understood, I need range. I'm athletic. I'm explosive. I kick. I'm twitchy. Like you say, Bud, from the NFL, the quick twitch guys, those athletes. You notice them. You recognize them. He's got all that. You need space for that. You need space to explode, to use all that kind of stuff, on the 4th of July, to set off the bottle rockets, the Roman candles, all that stuff. You need space. You need some, boom, shoot it from far. You don't do it from 4 feet away. You do it with a space to show that kind of explosive quality. Rodriguez understood that. He had the right fight plan. He had the right discipline to go with all the talent. He kept space. He made it difficult. He made Pitbull really have to pay a price to try to get to the place inside that would give him a chance to win. It turned out to be really just a great exhibition of striking mixed in with kicking, with everything, of a great exhibition of athleticism, technique, brains, discipline. He really did. He put on a show. He was impressive. He was very impressive, Rodriguez. And he's a guy that's difficult. I mean, he's got the talent. And sometimes a more important thing than having the talent, and you see it when it's not there, he's got the ability to know how to use that talent. He's got the smarts and a understanding of what he is and a discipline to use those things the way he needs to use them and not get thrown off and suddenly start fighting the other guy's fight. He showed me all of those areas of the dimensions of being a fighter. I was very impressed with him. And there's one good thing about, with Dana White. If you go get invited over his house for dinner, you don't have to bring a gift. He doesn't expect one. He's not going to give a gift for you guys to come to his house, to the UFC, when other people come on, you go to his, same thing. No, don't bring me nothing. It's okay. That brand is a solid brand because they stay. I talk about fighters, how you got to stay disciplined with who you are. They stay disciplined with who they are. That brand doesn't change. They are an organization, a company that's going to put the best in with the best. You're going to earn your spot. There's no free lunch. There's no layups. You know how when Notre Dame, the great college team, goes out of the runway and there's a sign, play like a champion today. And everybody hit. I love that stuff, Bud. I love that stuff. Everyone hits it, they should have one when you go into the UFC. No free lunch. You know what I mean? They should have a sign right there. No gifts, no freebies. You earn it.
Yeah, he earned it. And very impressive performance, like you said. Yair's first win in 2 years now puts him right back in the mix in the featherweight division. And you said it right. He put on a show. Talking about shows as we move on to the next one. Putting on a show, Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. This was the co-feature of the UFC 314. Lightweights. Now, Chandler lost 4 or 5 going into this fight, and this was a step up for Paddy Pimblett. To me, Paddy Pimblett put on quite a performance. He showed the ability on the outside. He showed the ability on the inside. He was more well-versed than maybe I thought. Chandler did what he usually does, right? He started fast. I thought he had a decent first round. He was able to score some takedowns, but maybe to his detriment a little bit. It seemed like the gas tank started running low pretty quick. Things started changing the second round, and it changed what I thought with a huge mistake by Michael Chandler. He was on top, a little over-aggressive, got over the top, he loses position, and things turned around, and then they got uglier. Pimblett poured it on him in the third round, ground and pound him. It was a little hard to watch, blood pouring out of Chandler. Tough as always, but he falls short once again. He has now lost 5 out of 6. Paddy Pimblett, impressive win. He's right in the mix now for some big, big fights. What'd you think of this one?
What I thought was very similar, a little bit, even though Pimblett's not as experienced and far along with the development, but similar to what I thought in the boxing with Ennis. He did what he had to do. If he is being projected, he is being built. They always have new stars being formed in the UFC. You have to, in everything, in baseball, football, you always have certain guys that are being built as the next, the next star, to bring the fans, the next torchbearer, to hand off the baton from the last guy, to keep the fans coming, to keep the attention and the spotlight on that sport. And Pimblett, they got a lot of stars in the UFC that are coming up all the time, going out the door, coming in the door, that they looked and identified. Does he have talent? But does he also have the ability, like the great Conor McGregor did, to promote? Does he have that? Does he have the it factor to get into a room and light the room up? Not just with his punching or his grappling or his kicking, but with his personality. And Pimblett has been, for the last 2 years, they've been building him, positioning him, hoping he would be that guy, and then hoping that to complete the journey, that he would also become that guy as a fighter, for that to all mean something. If he had the promotional skills, nobody's quite like a McGregor. That guy's special. No one's quite like Tyson Fury in boxing. Nobody's like a Muhammad Ali was. But you got guys that in their own right are special at promote. Pimblett is good at it. And he's got a great base and a great following. But he had to show that he also had the other part. The simple part, the most important part, that he can fight. Like the great story that I tell, that Customato told me, where years ago you had the club fights, and there was a club fight every Friday, and there was a very well-known priest who was a big fight fan, and he would always come, and he used to be a fighter when he was young, and then he became a priest, and he would come to watch the fights, and you'd be in this clubhouse, these club fights, and all the action going on, and the next guy would get in the ring, and the place is packed, and the priest is standing up against the wall watching, and there's some fans around them, and all of a sudden the guy gets in the ring for the next fight. He bends down in his corner, he crosses himself, he genuflects, he crosses himself, he looks up to the heavens, and then he gets ready to go. And the fan, it's a great story, the fan turns to the priest and says, "Father, does that really help?" And the priest says, "Only if you can fight, son." That's where Paddy Pimblett was. That's where he was. He was there. He was there, put in with a guy who was the guardian. This guy is kind of like, at this point, he's 38. We knew that this was a fight for Chandler, that he either does it, he gets over the hump, he gets this, he's got the talent, he's got everything, but he doesn't quite get over the hump. He even gets over because he's lost more than he's won in the UFC, but always against top guys, top guys, not good guys, top guys. This was the one that we're going to say, maybe he gets over the top, but he has to. He was at that fork in the road. He was at that place in his career where at 38, he needed to win for that reason, to get over the hump, to finally do everything that, since he came in from Bellator, that he could win at that next level, that to show that he came so close to showing, but would come up short. And a lot of times come up short because he would shoot himself in the foot, like you alluded to, that he would make a mental mistake, that he had the physical ability, he had everything to win it, but he would just, at the wrong time, he would do something wrong. He would just do something to sabotage himself. And you'd walk away saying he could have won that fight. What the freak happened? And it was time for him. He was in position to show that he could get past that. But Pimblett was in a position, like the priest said, only if you can fight, son. And he's got the base. He's got the following. He's pretty damn good at promoting. Nobody's a Conor McGregor. Nobody's a Tyson Fury. Nobody's a Muhammad Ali. But Pimblett he's got a good following. He's got a good charisma. He's got that thing going. But he had to show that he could fight. He had to show that he was that level of a guy with this guy. He had to. This was his home. This was his coming out fight for that. Even though he's been around now, this was the one, stepping up to this level. And he did what he had to do. Just like Ennis did what he had to do in the boxing. Even though Ennis has been around longer, he's more developed, he's old, he's more, I get it. But Ennis had to show, if he's going to be celebrated as the next great boxer, as one of the great ones, one of the superstars, he had to go and do what he did with Stanionis. And he did. Pimblett had to do what he wound up doing with Chandler if he was going to be that guy. If he was going to be the guy that Dana White has been building him to be, and that the UFC has been built, that next star. And he did it. He did it beautifully. He did it technically, he did it mentally, he did it fundamentally, and he did it athletically. He showed his athleticism, he showed his discipline, his control, he showed his chin, he got hit a good shot early on. He does keep that chin up too high sometimes still, like a lantern in a storm. He still does that. Move that head every once in a while, you know. And maybe, if you don't mind me saying and giving you a little advice, keep that chin a little lower. I know it's a hell of a chin, but get it down a little bit, hide it a little bit.
Been getting shouted at about that for years and years. Been getting shouted at for it for about 10 years.
But he controlled range better, much better. He understood that he had an advantage of length and range and quickness and athleticism. And he kept space so he could use those advantages well against the shorter Chandler, who for the most part is one gear, which is the gear to come forward, the gear to get on you. He understood that, and he took advantage. He showed the smarts, the discipline again, the technique on the outside to make Chandler pay a price to try to get into him. And he showed he was smart enough again. He was longer, he was taller, he was smart enough to fight the kind of, I use the same word, geography battle that made sense for him. And I like that. You can't be just tough. You got to be smart. And he showed that. And then finally, he showed how well-rounded he is. I mean, he looked good striking. Again, he made it his fight. He made Chandler fight the fight that was good for Pimblett, and bad for Chandler. Made him have to be aggressive where he came to him, and he could pick him up coming in. He could time him with shots. He could, again, use his speed. He could use his athleticism. He could use his reach. He did that. But at the same time, when he went to the floor, man, he showed his ability to grapple. He showed it that he is pretty damn well-rounded. In the way that you have to be nowadays. These guys have progressed. We've been into this UFC with this show for the last 5 years. And I'm so glad we got into it. But I've seen the progression of these fighters, of these athletes, how much better they've gotten striking-wise as fighters. As I look at Topuria, and I see a professional boxer. I see a professional boxer. I say, wow, these guys were much more primitive 5-6 years ago. They again, I see the transition. I see the development. They are getting markedly better in all areas. If you're not good in all areas now, striking, grappling, jiu-jitsu, if you're not real, and some of these guys that come from the regions that Khabib comes from, oh my God, on the floor again, I've seen the transition there where they're so good on a mat that if you're not either really good with your takedown defense and at least pretty damn good on the floor, you got a problem. You got to be good in all areas. You got to be good in striking. You got to be good on the floor, or at least good enough. And Pimblett showed me that he's kind of in line with that. That he's shown me that improvement. He has shown me that development. Where I was very impressed. I would say, wow, his striking has improved. His grappling is really good. And again, you have to keep up with the Joneses in the UFC because everybody is getting better. These guys just keep getting better, bud. We already know how tough they are, how physical they are, but they just keep really getting more sophisticated. That's what really catches my eye about that business. I was impressed.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I agree with that. And Pimblett he was bigger, he was stronger, so much stronger, it was evident. But nobody has dominated Chandler like that before, right? We said that he usually, when at this level, falls a little short. But it's competitive. This wasn't competitive. He was dismantled. But you did a great interview with Michael Chandler before this fight. It's up on YouTube if everybody wants to see it with ESPN. And you talked and asked him some tough questions, some deep questions. It was a powerful conversation. But you talked about a Toro Gatti, that he's like the Toro Gatti of the UFC. And no matter what, even when he loses, he usually wins. This one felt a little bit different. He's 38 now, but we'll see if he could bounce back. And I'm with you. I was really impressed by Paddy Pimblett, and I can't wait to see what's next for him. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the main event. Talking about Ilia Topuria a minute ago. He vacated the featherweight title. He's going to move up. So this was vacant and open for Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes. Now going into this one, I felt like this might have been a passing of the torch. Talked about Pimblett building up a star. I thought maybe this is where my mind was, that this was the passing of the torch to Diego Lopes. He's won 5 in a row in the UFC. He's been on a hot streak. Volkanovski coming off some tough fights and losses, 36 years old now. And boy, was I wrong. Alexander Volkanovski shows why he is so great. Just fought a beautiful masterpiece. I mean, boxed, striking, just patient, just disciplined. And he closed the show, I thought, the right way in the 5th round. He needed it on one of the scorecards. I didn't see it that close, but regardless, in the end, gets back the featherweight championship, back in the win column. What'd you think of this one and the great Alexander Volkanovski?
Yeah, we did the live stream and we did the commentating on it. So, of course, we had the volume turned off for the great commentary. And the UFC guys are great. They really are. Sometimes the boxing guys aren't always up to snuff. Some of them are. But the UFC guys, they are. You got experts. You got guys that really know what the freak they're talking about. They do a hell of a job. So I couldn't hear them. I could only go by what I saw and what I put together in my mind. And it started, or it ended, with what I'm going to just touch on real quick, the decision. I just didn't see a fight that close. I could have saw a shutout, but I definitely could have saw 4-1. I just didn't see. I don't know how those great commentators, DC and Rogan and Anik and, all of them, and afterwards.
Not to cut you off, I will say this. The second round I could understand. Maybe he steals the round, Lopes, right?
With the knockdown?
Yeah, right before the bell. Like you said, we weren't
I don't
listening
think
to
so. I think
commentary.
he did enough before that to win that round, even with the knockdown. I get it. I get what you're
to
saying.
your-
I thought
Yeah,
he
and to
did
your
enough.
point-
But maybe the fourth round, I thought that maybe that round Lopez grabs. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Rogan, from what I read, because we weren't listening to the commentary, he had a 2-2 going into the fifth. What we talked about during the live stream and to that point, and I was shocked by Volkanovski, only minus 200 live betting going into the final round, where we both thought, hey, he's well ahead, and Lopez needs probably a knockout to win this. So
It shows you that the bookmakers, they know what they're doing. They know what they always have a pulse on what the frick's going on. They don't make money in that business because they're stupid. They always know what they're doing. But I did not think it was, ended up 3-2. I thought it was 4-1, possibly 5-0, but probably 4-1. But either way, I concur with you. I thought that Volkanovski put on a clinic, a master clinic, a boxing clinic. And he showed you can be the shorter guy and you can outbox taller guys. And there's different ways to do it. It's knowing what you're doing and knowing what those ways are. When you fight a taller guy, one of the things you have to deal with as the shorter guy is how do I get the range that I need with shorter arms and shorter height to land with a taller guy? And there's a couple ways. Most people think it's just being aggressive, but no, they're wrong. And Volkanovski showed you the options. He showed you those other ways. There's a lot of ways. And one of those ways is to get your taller opponent to give up his height. To get him to give up his height by using your legs, by controlling range on the outside, by not forcing something because you are shorter, by not getting desperate, by not getting overly anxious and overly aggressive or recklessly aggressive. That if you even are short and you know how to use your legs, he did a lot of times guys don't get a credit for showing good legs unless they're boxing like Muhammad Ali. He showed great legs. He moved out, he moved to the side just enough where he was controlling distance in a way where he was dictating the kind of fight it was going to be. He was dictating and making Lopez do what he wanted him to do. I said it during our broadcast. He was the ocean, and he made Lopez the log. You always want to be the ocean. You don't want to be the log. The log gets thrown up on a freaking beach at the end of the day. It gets tossed up, sometimes up against the rocks. The log gets pushed out by the ocean and gets pulled in by the ocean. At the end of the day, the log is controlled by the ocean. Volkanovski was the ocean. And that was my analogy. And to me, that it was so evident. He pushed him back when he wanted to. He pulled him in when he wanted to. And he showed the different ways to take away the advantage of a taller guy being tall. He drew him in to give up his height, give up his reach. And when he drew him in, what did he do? He countered him with right hands. Beautifully. He drew him in. Lopez drew the jab now from too close with the shorter man. If he drew it from farther out, the counter would not have been there. But he came in aggressive because of the leg movement of Volkanovski. He got him to come in, Lopez to come in. And then what did he do? He countered up top. When Lopez drew the jab, he countered with the right hand over it because he had the position he needed to be the better guy. And then all of a sudden, the shorter guy who has a disadvantage with the shorter arms and the height on the outside, he's got an advantage on the inside because his arms are shorter. They will get there faster. They will get there more compactful. And that's what he did all night. And how did he land that right hand up top? He gave a little dip, a little science, Little bit of a subtle, just a subtle, smart little maneuver. A little dip, bop. A little dip here, bop. Just to change levels, to change the eye level of Lopes to look here and not here. And not see this. Just see this, not see this. He did it all night. And Lopes didn't adjust to it. He didn't come up with the counter to that. He just kept trying to press the gas, when he needed to press the gas. And then there was spots where Lopes became a little tentative on the outside because he knew he was walking in. So that was his answer. Be a little conservative, be a little tentative, don't just walk in. And what happened when he did that? Volkanovski knew what to do. He jabbed. He pot-shotted. He beat him to the mark. He got off first. He caught his stationary guy waiting, being tentative on the outside, and he just beat him to the punch and then moved again. And then drew him in again. And then counted again. I mean, it was beautiful. It was really science. It was beautiful. But forget UFC, the JFC, Bull FC, ZFC, whatever channel you listen to. Call it whatever you want. That, for me, was beautiful fighting. Beautiful boxing. It really was. And he even mixed it up with a little inside stuff when he went for the takedowns just to keep Lopes guessing, to keep him a little off balance. He never let Lopes get comfortable. He never let Lopes really fight his fight. He made Lopes fight the fight all night long that he should not have fought, that Volkanovski wanted him to fight. And Volkanovski did. He reminded me of the great Customato. We were ready to write him off a little bit, but he only lost to great fighters. And there was extenuating circumstances in those losses. There was. He went up in weight in the first one. Then he took a fight on quick notice. In the other one,
very short notice.
And then he took a fight with the great Topuria of too quick off of that.
4-month turnaround.
Yeah, 4-month turnaround. So there was extenuating circumstance that could explain it a little bit. Here was the thing that I was pretty sure of. He wasn't used up. He wasn't shop worn. He wasn't physically, diminished. That he wasn't. It was more of a case, was he going to be mentally right? Was he going to be the Volkanovski that used to be, the confident, the hungry, the guy that fought with a smartness, but also that fire, that urgency? He made a lot of money. Was that going to be gone? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And when you answered no on those questions, Lopes had a problem. That because they wanted this to be the fight for Lopes to see if he could go to the throne, if he could be that next star. And this was the one that was going to tell. Is he ready to be that? He's not quite ready. It doesn't mean he won't be, because he did himself proud enough. It doesn't mean he won't be. But no, that was what this fight was about. Could Volkanovski pull together again and be what he used to be? And could Lopes take that step and become that guy? And this was the guy that was waiting for him, for everybody to see if he could get past that guy. Then we will say, okay, Lopes, you're the next guy. But he couldn't get past that guy. And what I started to say, and I'll finish with, is what Customato, the great Customato, told me. Teddy, be careful. When you got a former champion and he goes through a bad patch, that's Volkanovski, by the way. When he goes through a bad patch and he's lost a few fights, and you start to write him off, be careful. Be careful. Because on one given night, he might remember that he used to be a champion. He might remember that he used to be a champion and he wants to be a champion again on one night. And if he remembers that, you're going to get that old guy that you thought wasn't there no more. And that's what you got. And that's what I got. I'm out.
Yeah, that was a great job. Well said. Great analogy, the ocean and the log. And he did. He turned back the clock. It was a masterpiece. Wouldn't be a fight, like you always say, without facing adversity. Otherwise, as you say, it's an exhibition. He faced adversity. Besides, mentally, as you touched on coming in, he was cut, and it was a bad cut over the left eye. And I don't know if you've heard this, but I was listening this morning. Volkanovski said he could not see out of the left eye, and that's why he got more on the bike and started more movement, I believe, in the second, towards the end of the second, third round especially. So, and it matches up to what he said after the fight. He said after the fight that adversity is a privilege, and he was privileged to have this opportunity to redeem himself.
Beautiful, beautiful. Isn't that beautiful to hear a man like that say? Because that's the real deal. That's the real deal talking right there. Really, that's not that's a humble guy. That's a real warrior. That's a real fighter. That's a real man. That's the real deal.
He's the real deal.
That is the real deal. That's what you hope you can hear from people, but you don't always hear it from people in that position with that kind of success and everything else that he has been part of. But a lot of guys will kind of make it like all about, I'm doing something that 99% or 95% of the people on the planet couldn't do. And you're right. 95% of the people couldn't do it, couldn't deal with those kind of things. And that puts me in a special place. And I should be honored for that. I should be, recognized for that. I should be respected for it. And you are, don't get me wrong. But they have that attitude like that. But what does he do? He pushes that all aside. And he says, no. It's a privilege for me to be able to be in this kind of position, to face all those things, all those difficult things. I am blessed. I am privileged to have the honor, the opportunity to face these things and find out about myself and to be able to show what I am. What a privilege. Thank you, God. Thank you, everybody, that I have that. That is a humble but also honest, smart, genuine warrior. Those are the words of a warrior. Just like I remember Beterbiev, another warrior that I have tremendous respect for, and in boxing. And I remember after a fight what he said when he fought, our guy who fought a hell of a fight in, Alexander Volkanovski. He fought a hell of a fight with him, winning the fight going into the 10th, but Beterbiev separated himself and took over from that point. But I remember, here's a guy who could have gloated. Here's a guy who could have said nothing. What did he say? He said what you would hear from a Volkanovski, what you would hope that you hear from those type of true warriors. He said, it was an honor to share the ring with you. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get realer than that. You could root for those guys. You could appreciate them. You could admire them. You could respect them the way we do, but you could also root for guys like that.
Yeah, and here's an interesting one, just to wrap it up to the greatness of Volkanovski, a stat. Guys were 0-17 under 155 pounds, 35 and older, fighting for a title coming into this one. The great Volkanovski, the first to do it. And I can't wait to see what's next for him. He's amazing. And I just wrap it up by saying this in regards to Diego Lopes. I was a little personally frustrated by his performance. I think he's better than what he showed, and in large part due and credit to Alexander Volkanovski for that. But what a chin he showed. My goodness, that guy, what a granite chin. I just thought he was too hesitant, as you touched on and beautifully explained, fouling around too much, and we didn't get to see those explosive punches that we're used to seeing. He never let the hands go. He was very tentative. Even with his jab, he didn't snap it. He pushed it. But again, because of the man in front of him.
But there was a reason, Bud. When he did let, well, you just said it, the man in front of him. When he did let him go, he would get counted. And that'll make you keep your hands in your pocket. And another thing, Volkanovski, I don't think people appreciate this enough. I hope I took enough time to explain what he does so well, and maybe people don't recognize it, really what a science it is to do what he did. But with his legs, the way he controls space and controls range, he gets into gaps. He gets into positions where it's good for him and bad for you, where he exploits guys. He exposes guys. He got into positions in tight, in close, where he made being tall or long a disadvantage, where he took advantage of Lopes standing straight up and erect. He got into space. That didn't happen by accident. He got into space where he was perfectly positioned, where now he could take advantage of Lopes, where normally it's an advantage for Lopes that he's tall. Now it became a detriment. Now Lopes is tall, he's erect, he's a target. Volkanovski, by getting into that position, he put himself where he's got a tall target, bang. He can exploit him. He can expose him. And he did that all night. And he's done that with other guys. He gets into those spaces where they're throwing, he's right in here, bop, bop, and he catches them in those spaces. He is really good.
What helped him with that, to piggyback off of that, is there was no threat for a takedown. He knew he wasn't going to shoot on him. He knew Lopes wasn't going to try to wrestle him.
That's true. That's true. I mean, in that business, that's why I got so much respect for these guys. Teddy Atlas could stand there and say, you should do this, you should do that. But Teddy Atlas might forget that in my business you could do that. But in that business, you got to worry about knees. You got to worry about kicks. You got to worry about suddenly flying back fist or flying back kicks. That you got to worry. You got to worry about all those other things. So I can say all day long, hey, get in here, slip over here, throw this. But meanwhile, you got to worry about when you do that, the guy might throw a kick on you or a knee. So not having to worry, that's a great point by you at the end there, bud. By not having to worry about part of those things, like the takedown, the shoot, it did allow him to concentrate on some of those things he does so well, strictly from the striking standpoint. Yeah, sometimes I look at these guys, my God, all the stuff they gotta deal with. I mean, I'll use my man Bennett Garcia. He did a tremendous job, by the way. We love Bennett. We love Richie, who's here with us now. And Richie's celebrating because he loves Volkanovski. He's wearing a Volkanovski shirt right now, and he's a huge, huge Volkanovski. So he's very happy, very happy. But last night, Bennett, he did just, again, we appreciate him. He did a tremendous job last night, doing a live streaming with us. And I lost my favorite thought, but I just wanted to, again, thank him for being with us late into the night.
Yeah, as always, thank you to both Richie and Ben. And this is a great episode. Covered a lot of fights, boxing and UFC. Before we sign off, any final words?
Yeah. Happy Easter. Happy Passover. Happy Palm Sunday. Happy life. Be happy. That song. Don't worry.
Marley?
Yeah. What was that song? Don't worry, be happy.
Be happy.
Right? That was that. I
That's
mean,
right.
that took the industry by storm. Don't worry, be happy. God bless everybody.
Yep. Be happy, everyone. And just a reminder, please like, comment, subscribe. Next week, Easter Sunday, we will not be airing the episode on Monday. We will air it on Tuesday, and then we'll get back to our regular format. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.